The following program contains graphic material and subject matter that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
We were raised about 45 miles south of Bozeman in the Gallatin Canyon. My memories of Donna are many, but growing up, she was the big sister and I was the little one. Donna was a country girl with a heart of gold. She was brutally murdered and left in a secluded place that did not dignify her at all. To do something like that to a human being, it is not fair. It's not fair for anyone. They'll have to pay for it at some point. I truly believe they will get theirs. We had a great childhood. We lived in a log house with a fireplace in the front that my dad built. There was a stone rock in the fireplace that was kind of the center of family activities. My parents were very loving. What we did as a family. My sister and I were outside most of the time. We climbed in the hills, climbed trees. We always counted the first wildflowers that came up in the spring. Donna was very, very inquisitive about things. She liked to explore. She liked to find answers to things. She liked to climb rocks, which I didn't. I was always scared of heights. So my dad was an experienced rock climber from the military, and he would take her rock climbing, and I'd stand at the bottom and think, you guys are goofy. We explored and rode our horses. We loved it. We didn't know any difference, so it was our way of life, and that's what we liked. I never wished or wanted for any other life. Donna was the oldest in cousins that were kind of our close family, and she was kind of the leader.
Donna was my older cousin. She was a soothing person, loved to read. We looked up to her. She was kind of the mother hen. She was really intelligent. She was very kind. Our family was very close. We did all the holidays, all the family birthdays, everything was spent together. I don't think there was a week didn't go by that we didn't see each other.
She was fun-loving. She liked to help people. She liked the same kind of things that I liked. And so it was an easy friendship. She went to nursing school there in Bozeman. She wanted to help people.
Donna was very authentic. Donna was about as real as you could get. The way she disappeared so fast, it was like a ghost, like she became a ghost.
We have a fairly good sense of where Donna Lemon was on July 5th, 1973. We do know that she started the morning off with hamburgers and Cokes with her younger sister, Verna.
The Corral Bar and Restaurant was just few steps away from our house, and we went up there to have a hamburger and a Coke, and that was it. That was the last time I saw her. She had gone to town to do some shopping for a family trip.
We'd gone to Bozeman that day, and we happened to be in at Monarch, and Donna walks in. And we visited a little bit. She said that she was heading back up the canyon to meet with Sherry to go riding at 4. I says, well, then I'll see you later tonight. She says, yeah.
She made plans to go riding at 4 o'clock with me, and she was the type of person that would have kept that engagement because it was important to her. 4 o'clock came and went. When she didn't show up by 5 o'clock, I remember going back and calling the house, her house, and saying, hey, did she make it home? Did she decide not to go on the ride?
Sherry started calling and saying if Donna was there. And I said, no. She says she never showed up at 4 to go riding. And Sherry was really worried. She says that's not like her.
I actually drove up there and talked to her dad, and he actually got in the car and we looked around a little bit, just in the immediate area.
By that evening, we were convinced that, you know, something was wrong. She would have called. There was no reason she shouldn't have been there. We reported her missing, and of course she was old enough that the sheriff's department said, well, we can't do anything. It's like 24 hours or 48 hours before law enforcement would step in to say, okay, this is a missing person, because she's of a legal age, and she probably just took a trip with a friend, and we all knew that was not her. That was not Donna. Then the next thing I remember is a couple of detectives coming to our house and knocking on the door in the morning.
I heard a car pull up, and I heard Uncle George go to the door. It went terrible so fast.
And I remember my dad's just screaming, oh my God, they've found her, she's gone.
They'd found her, and she wasn't coming back.
On July 9th of 1973, she's found murdered along the shore of the Snake River in Idaho Falls. The manner of death was stabbing. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. You know, it is grisly and it's grim.
Why would they do that to her? Why would anybody do this to her? She was so kind. She was so giving. She would do anything for anybody. It was so hard to look in my aunt and uncle's eyes and know what had been taken. It destroyed me.
I was pretty devastated. She was such a gentle person. I can't even imagine what she went through.
The only thing I remember was just a slurry of people coming and wishing well, and food coming to the house. And I was out sitting on a rock just watching the water, and my Uncle Pat come out to me, and he patted me on the back and he said, now listen, he said, you take a deep breath and you be strong. He said, that's what you need to do to get through this. And so I did.
I have been assigned a cold case. We refer to it as the Donna Lemon case. It's a 1973 murder that hasn't been solved. So on the 5th of July, she starts her morning just like any other morning, and somewhere between that afternoon and 4 o'clock, she disappears, and she's not discovered until the 9th of July in Idaho Falls. She was found by the river on a secluded road. She was by some bushes in the grass. She had been stabbed in the side, and her throat was cut.
The crime scene pictures showed that she was laid out and quite camouflaged in bushes. She was put there on purpose.
There were scrapings under her fingernails of a male DNA. Was the best sign that we saw that there was some kind of struggle.
I don't know why or how she got to Idaho.
The Idaho Falls connection has left investigators and authorities speechless. Donna has no logical or reasonable connection to Idaho Falls. Her car was found a few blocks away from where she was discovered.
She had recently purchased a very popular 1969 light green Mustang, and so she was very proud of it, and when she disappeared, we believe that she was still driving that Mustang. Whatever happened, the Mustang was involved. Whoever dropped her off at the river took the car and drove it a mile or two to an empty parking lot. We were able to find a bloody handprint that was actually on the door that we believe was most likely Donna's blood, but the suspect's hand that used it. That is one of the pieces of evidence that we actually have at the lab right now. The day after and the next couple days, they searched the banks, and then they actually searched in the river to find the murder weapon. The murder weapon has never been recovered.
A murder tears apart a family for generations, and the Lemon family is no different. It changed their family from that moment forward.
It took a toll on my family. It really did. My mom and dad really suffered through it. They held on to it till their death. It brought distrust. It brought worry, trying to go over and over in your mind how it could have happened. You start suspecting people around you. You start wondering if it's someone you knew.
My life changed at 16. My perspective on life changed. I became very guarded. I became defensive.
As far as pointing the finger at anyone, I didn't have clues as to who it could be. I know Mom and Dad had interviews with different people from Idaho and from Bozeman.
And because she was transported across state lines, the FBI was involved.
If you took a body and you brought it across state lines in 1973, it was like taking a body and dumping it off on another continent.
You are dealing with two different states, two different jurisdictions, and so just the lack of communication, that was one of the challenges.
I think the timeline is extremely important. We know that around the 5th that she was out shopping for some attire. We also know that she was at Stacy's bar in Gallatin Gateway between 2:30 and about 4 o'clock. We know that she ended up walking in there, she got a beer to go, and then she left.
It was not uncommon for her to stop in Gateway and get a beer.
We do have information from the bartender herself saying that she served Donna a beer that day.
Donna was not only seen in the bar by the bartender and patrons in the bar, but by a woman who was entering the bar to buy cigarettes when Donna's car was driving away towards Highway 191. And she was the last known witness and didn't see anyone else in Donna's car.
I don't believe she would have stopped for a stranger, because that was pretty much instilled in our minds at that time, because Big Sky was just coming into the area, so there were getting to be lots of transient workers and different people coming to Big Sky.
You've had construction, you had lodges being built, roads being built during that time, and it was very common that there was a lot of transient help. With that, you bring in a whole nother set of population.
She wasn't somebody just to pick up anybody and let them ride with her. She was cautious. She'd have to know him if it was somebody got in her car. She'd have to know him.
In my heart, I believed, and I still do, that it was someone Donna knew.
They know it was up close and it was a personal attack.
It's very likely that she was killed by someone that she was connected to.
I have a couple theories about what happened to Donna. My first theory is that Donna, when she left the bar, it's possible somebody on Mill Street in Gallatin Gateway may have flagged her down or gotten her attention. She pulled over, they had a short conversation, maybe they asked for a ride, maybe they overpowered her and said, held a knife or a gun to her and said, "Take me, I need to go here." She was small. Looking at her clothing and her under items and evidence was a big shock to me because I realized how small of a person Donna was and how easy it would have been for somebody to overpower her. My other thought is that she stopped and saw someone along the way or in Big Sky.
We have a list of possible suspects, 2 of them of interest that she has either dated or had some kind of a relationship with. One was confirmed by the FBI to be out of state, and the other one was questioned, and law enforcement in 1973 deemed that he was not involved at that time.
If we could go back in time to 1973, I think certain people that were questioned in the case needed a lot harder questioning. I think their timelines needed checked out a lot closer rather than I was here, not there, and that was believed and put on paper.
And was it a random stranger who just vanished into the murky inseams of the country? Or is the killer in Gallatin Canyon? We can't say with absolute certainty what happened to her. There's the angle of the random serial killer. Ted Bundy's name often comes up as attached to this, and so does David Meyerhofer.
We have roundtabled many versions of who could have done this, and nothing is off the table. I know we're missing people. I know there's other people that were in Donna's life that we have never spoken with.
I think that it's a stalled case. I don't think it's a hopeless case. There is DNA evidence connected to the case that's being processed.
We're fortunate in a 40-year-old case that we still have a lot of the main pieces of evidence stored. The technologies that are available now weren't even thought of back in 1973. We were able to recover cigarette butts in the car. So we have been told that there are DNA in those, and we're waiting for the response if we can match them to somebody.
There's evidence being sent in by way of the fingerprints and some of the blood from the vehicle. That's going to be looked at again with extensive current technology. One more marker on the DNA from the fingernails came in. It's still not enough that we can match it to anyone positively, but that doesn't mean it can't in the future.
I want to say my hat goes off to all of the investigators that are working on this. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. They're digging through old evidence. They're working their hardest. I want everybody to support them and know that they're working to solve this case.
We're always hopeful that there's one thing that's going to, flip a switch and is going to lead us to the path of, who killed Donna Lemons. Older cases, colder cases are being solved every day.
I still have a lot of questions. Do I know who did it? No. Do I have suspicions? Yes. We'd still be friends, I know it. It's the kind of friendship we had.
Whoever might know something, it's been long enough. It's been long enough. Say something.
I know there's someone out there somewhere that knows something. Someone has to. Please, please, come forward and tell us what you know or what you think you know. Small tips may lead to big finds.
If you know something, if you are that person and you know something and can help resolve this, please come forward. You got to live your life. She didn't.
Donna's buried at Soldiers Chapel. She's next to my mom and dad. There's a fountain there that was dedicated to her. I always hoped that it would be solved before my parents died, but I know that they're looking down and they will know when it is solved.
She lived an exceptional life, and she suffered a horrendous death, but hopefully one day reconciliation might be coming for Donna.
This book isn't closing. It's wide open. We've got pages that need to be finished.
They took my sister away, but they can't take the memories. And they can't take the fact that I knew her as a person. And I feel deep in my heart that this may be the point that solves it.